What's going on, guys? I want to talk to you today about the upcoming Han Solo movie. It did just get a title. If you hadn't already been cued into that, it's going to be called Solo, a Star Wars story. And I'm going to talk to you about some of the hopes for cameos that we're going to see in this movie. These are kind of cameos that would be awesome if they did it. It's one of the things that makes me a little more excited about this movie. But before I get too deep into this movie, I do want to say that out of all the Star Wars news and out of all the Star Wars projects that are up and coming, I have probably been least excited about the Han Solo movie because I really didn't think Han Solo needed a movie. I would have rather them done somebody else like Boba Fett or somebody more obscure. But I think that's kind of one of the things that leads into why I'm hoping that some of the obscure characters that we know of might show up in this movie, because it does offer a great opportunity for you to see characters that you might not see otherwise. And the other thing is too, I like Han Solo's backstory having a lot of mystery involved in it, and there's so many things that we already know that have happened with Han Solo, like winning the Millennium Falcon from Lando. Earning a life debt from Chewbacca, making the Kessel Run. The only thing really that it kind of leaves to the mystery is if there's some more details, like he cheated at the Kessel Run, or maybe he didn't even make it. Maybe Lando made the Kessel Run, and that's why he says it's the ship that made the Kessel Run. There's all kinds of stuff. And you have to throw out anything that you may think you already know about his backstory, because all that's in the EU now. So, it may have been, talked about before in this book or that book. It's all legends now. So it's all kind of up in the sky how they want to do this. I remember reading a book a long time ago about how Han Solo was a stormtrooper. And, I don't know if they're going to throw that out or keep that in or what they're going to do. But I'm a little more excited about this movie now as I think about the different cameos that they can do. And, rather than give somebody their own movie, they can do this. So let's start off with Dash Rendar. I think this would be a great opportunity to bring in Dash Rendar, put him on screen, and maybe give him a little more personality if he's going to have some speaking roles or if he's going to have any kind of significant presence in this movie. I think it'd be fantastic. So Dash Rendar was in the Shadows of the Empire book, and he was kind of taking the role of Han Solo in a book that didn't really have Han Solo in it. He's everything about Han Solo. Dash Rendar was basically a carbon copy of it. So it's an opportunity for them to make him different than Han Solo, and also kind of, do a fan service by having a familiar character. YT 2400 is certainly canon. They've been in Rebels. There was that, he was in the special edition where the Outrider was like seen flying over Mos Eisley. So, or at least a generic 2400. So Dash Rendar certainly deserves, a spot if they can fit him in. Next up, I'd love to see Shek. So Shek is one of these obscure background characters, pretty much from Episode 4, as seen, talking with Chewie and Obi-Wan in the Mos Eisley Cantina. But I've always liked Shek from the EU stuff. The old Decipher card game is where I first really came to know about Shek. In that was just another pilot, but his stats were much better. So, I've always tended to think, he's a much better pilot than just all these other random pilots. And, and he had his own stories in the EU as well. But I would love to see them, Shek would be kind of a pretty obscure character. And I think if they did include him, it would be a very subtle, maybe a background thing or a single line. Next up, I'm going to go with the obvious, maybe it's too obvious, Boba Fett, I'm going to include any of the Empire Strikes Back bounty hunters that we see. So Zuckuss, Forlom, Dengar, Bosk, IG-88, any of them would be awesome. I think it'd actually be really cool if they're going to do some of those, if they, kind of hinted at some of their EU stories, like if you see Dengar, maybe they'll have Manaru. If you have IG-88, maybe you have a couple of the other IG-88s because he had to clone himself a couple of times. Things like that would be really fun. I think if they do Boba Fett, it might be it might be a little too obvious because a lot of people want a Boba Fett movie. Something like Zuckuss or Forlom would probably be like maybe the most obscure, because I think they're like the least popular of the bounty hunters. Bosk, Dengar would be, very popular. They're recognizable. So, there's some options there, but any of those bounty hunters would be really cool. It's certainly a great opportunity for them to do bounty hunters. Next up, Dr. Aphra. I would love to see Dr. Aphra show up here. This movie is going to be well before A New Hope, so I don't think she'll have BT and 000 like she does in the comic books. Dr. Aphra is a comic book character for the new Star Wars comics they've been doing, and she's really, really cool. She's kind of like the female Indiana Jones. And except she's not necessarily really a good character. She's kind of in the middle, but really, really cool character. And I think she's quickly becoming a fan favorite. So be a great opportunity to have a younger Dr. Aphra show up. Next up, I'm going to go with Prince Xizor. Prince Xizor would be awesome to have here. So another similar to Dash Rendor, Xizor. Whether you say Xizor, Xizor, or she, I think the correct pronunciation actually has like a kind of an SH, so I kind of do a hybrid when I say it. I say Xizor, right? I don't know. But he would be a really great character to have because he is the mastermind behind Black Sun. He's the boss. He's this criminal gangster. It could kind of fit into the whole theme. Black Sun is certainly a big deal in the Star Wars universe, although you don't really see a whole lot of their face. So I think it'd be an awesome opportunity for them to bring a powerful character. He could even be the big bad. Who knows? Like, I think that would be amazing. And maybe that's how he goes. It'll work with Jabba. Maybe he goes up against Xizor, and ends up taking sides with a different criminal organization. I think something like that would just be amazing. It'd be a lot of makeup, but this is Star Wars, so makeup's no problem, right? So that would be cool. My most, I think the one I would love to see most of all would be Talon Karrde. So Talon Karrde from the Heir to the Empire trilogy, another scum kind of mastermind guy that kind of rose to power in the absence of like the dwindling Hutts and after the fall of the Empire. Talon Karrde is just an awesome character, and his ship, the Wild Card, or they won't have to do that. But, it's just Talon Karrde would be a great opportunity for them to recanonize another beloved character from the the original EU Thrawn trilogy. We know stuff like that's not necessarily off limits because they already brought back Thrawn, so perhaps that could happen. There are a couple more that I'm going to speculate, although I think they're unlikely. The first one in the unlikely, but, is going to be C-3PO and R2-D2. I mentioned them just because they show up in every Star Wars movie, right? And they were in Rogue One even. At least in those cases, it's reasonable. Like, you can understand. Yes, they were they were present during the Battle of Yavin. They were present, on Leia's ship. And so, since all of this stuff is going on, you don't have to really suspend your disbelief too much for them to have been in Rogue One. But for this movie, it would be a little bit too much of a stretch. So it would feel very contrived if they were to put C-3PO and R2 in. The next one I think is unlikely is Mara Jade. The only way they could do that, I think, is if they really stuck close to the Talon Karrde kind of storyline and kept him very, very close to his original book. And then maybe there's a chance for Mara Jade, but I don't really think that. I don't see that happening. I think if they do something with Mara Jade, it would be most likely to be served once they flush out, more Luke Skywalker stories. And I don't think that's going to happen until after, the Episode 8 comes out. Now, granted, this movie is coming out well after Episode 8, so it is entirely possible, but I just don't think they're going to drop a Mara Jade origin story or cameo in this book. But it's entirely possible. And another character that is still presumably alive and active during, at least some of the time frame of this movie would be Ahsoka. But I don't think they're going to do Ahsoka in this movie, primarily because it would be a big fan service if they did, but I don't think they're going to do any Jedi in this movie, because this movie shouldn't have anything to do with Jedi. It should be about the criminal underworld, the smugglers, the scum and villainy of the Star Wars universe. It shouldn't have anything to do with the Force. And so if Ahsoka is there, at best it would be a fan service, and maybe she's just in the background, and you like Chopper was in Rogue One, where it's just walking by, and if you happen to freeze frame, you would catch it. and then maybe it twists in that she was on this planet at the same time doing something completely unrelated, but then you get to see her, so it could please the fans. They could potentially do stuff like that, but I think it's unlikely. I would love to see, though, some of these other characters like Zizor or Talon Card, Dr. Aphra, Dash Rendar, Bounty Hunters, Shek. I would love to see all of them, as a matter of fact. They could do a whole cameo, bonanza. Or even some of the familiar aliens from the Cantina Bar could be there. I'd love to see a lot of that. I don't think they'll do too much in the way of fan service, but I do expect to see at least one or two thoughtful and meaningful cameos. But I would love to hear what you guys think. What cameos are you really hoping for? What else do you want to see out of the Han Solo movie? Are you looking forward to Lando as much as I am? I'm a big Lando fan. And what are your overall thoughts on the Han Solo movie? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And make sure you subscribe and click the little bell to enable notifications so you can find out when I post new stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day.